Wow, it's getting a little warm now. I kind of like it. Like if it could just stay like this temperature, which I don't know what temperature it is, 70 maybe, it's perfect. And they're not doing any chemtrails. It's a miracle. Let's see if you can see the skies out there. Can you see the skies? Oh, not really. Ah, just okay, okay, okay. Okay, so touchy. I dropped my keyboard. Anyways, I was thinking about getting back on track. And let me look for this Carlton Weiss. Carlton Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook. Let's get back to this because if we're going to be a trustee over our newly claimed trust or our estate, as we have hit the age of majority and no longer infants, we're going to need to know how to operate the trust that we have taken back or claimed. So let's see, under this jurisdiction, this is page 22 of Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook. Under this jurisdiction, the federal government, Congress, has full and direct contact with the trust as they see fit for the benefit of public policy regulations known as codes and statutes of this jurisdiction. This makes the federal government a third-party intervener in the affairs of the trust by operation of law, because the trust, as with the 14th Amendment citizens, which you don't want to claim to be that, is being allowed to get away with not truly fulfilling its commercial contracts and is required under the common law of contracts. I will show how this can all be avoided in a later section. Okay, so did anybody understand what I just read right there? I mean, maybe we should go back to page 21 for a second so that you can see. What we're doing is we're trying to understand commerce here. So here is where we begin to address the express trust in action. As shown above, the trust may engage in all manner of trade and commerce. But before taking the step of doing so, the reader would greatly benefit the trust by understanding the nature of commerce in the 21st century America. And for my brief explanation of the subtle intricacies involved, I will rely upon the two works by Lee Brobst et al. I will not go into a detailed explanation of the Constitution or the history of commerce for want of space, but I would suggest that the reader read the works relied upon herein. When the trustee is engaging in trade or commerce in behalf of the trust, acting under general common law, the trust is within the jurisdiction over which the literal and absolute protections of the Bill of Rights extend. And he has no direct contact with the federal government. Well, that sounds good. Under right of contract law, protected by the federal Constitution, the trustee may enter into the 14th Amendment jurisdiction via contract. Example, by willfully availing the trust of benefits like the quasi corporate privilege franchise of limited liability for the discharge of debts. Hey, this sounds really good. We need to pay attention right here. Let's just go back over that little thing again. When the trustee is engaging in trade or commerce in behalf of the trust, acting under general common law, the trust is within the jurisdiction over which the literal and absolute protections of the Bill of Rights extend, and he has no direct contact with the federal government. Under right of contract law, contract law. Protected by the federal constitution, the trustee may enter into the 14th Amendment jurisdiction via contract by willfully availing the trust of benefits like the quasi corporate privilege franchise of limited liability for the discharge of debts using Federal Reserve notes, pursuant to the economic system established under former HJR, Resolution 192. Contrast discharge with the payment of debts with standard gold-backed currency under the original Coinage Act of 1792. And let's look at some of these little notes down here, 123. One such quote is that of John D. Rockefeller, who is reported to have said that the key to true wealth and power is to own nothing and control everything. Your author is confident that the reader will see the self-evidence of this truth, and the express trust throughout the relatively short history of America has served to facilitate this practice. A search for the assets of the Rockefeller family will prove the truth of this philosophy. He lives well who conceals himself, his assets well. Ovid, c. 43 BC AD 18. The words trade and commerce are often used interchangeably, but strictly speaking, commerce relates to intercourse or dealings with foreign nations, states, or political communities, while trade denotes business intercourse or mutual traffic within the limits of a state or nation, or the buying, selling, and exchanging of articles between members of the same community. Black's Law Dictionary, page 336, 4th edition. Review 1968. HJR Res 192 was tacitly repealed on October 27, 1977, as codified at 31 USC 5118A1 and D2. And though gold clauses have since been upheld as legally enforceable again, see Fay Corporation versus Frederick and Nelson Seattle Incorporated, 896 F 2D 1227, CA 9, Washington 1990, it successfully put in place a system which survived. It survived the repeal. Oh, and thus today, most participants make no notice of how the now legally enforceable gold clause make no noticeable use of the now legally enforceable gold clause. Therefore, all discussions relating to HJR 192 remains valid, hello, in the sense that nothing has changed materially since its repeal 30 years ago. Okay. So 21, right? Okay, we went there. Let's go to 22. Going to go back again. And what's happening? Let me see. Come on. Oh, wait. Okay, 22. So back to that under this jurisdiction thing, the federal government, Congress, has full and direct contact with the trust as they see fit for the benefit of public policy regulations known as codes and statutes of this jurisdiction. That's that 14th Amendment thing. This makes the federal government a third-party intervener in the affairs of the trust by operation of law, because the trust, as with the 14th Amendment citizens, is being allowed to get away with not truly fulfilling its commercial contracts, as is required under the common law of contracts. I will show you how this can all be avoided in a later section. The resulting nexus or confederacy developed under HJR 192, that's House Joint Resolution, by the way, for those who do not know, is an affiliation known better as an association. And the common enterprise of this unincorporated society is to offer all Americans a so-called privilege in the form of what is better known as quasi contract to participate in commerce without payment of debts for Social Security purposes. Moreover, this unincorporated society is outside the literal common law principle that demands the payment of debts as stated in Article 1, Section 10, but is allowed, upheld, and protected by Article 1, Section 10 that upholds the obligation of contracts. This amounts to a federated, unincorporated society by operation of law, which is contractually protected by the Constitution. In the same way, the express trust and its trustees are, and the trust and or trustee reserves the right to domicile themselves in the union under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 1, and thus to contract under Article 1, Section 10, despite the fact that they cannot pay their debts. Oh. So there's some things right here that can be picked apart and put in categories. It seems to me that there's some conglomeration, or like things are getting all bunched up into one. You know how, this is the way I can explain it to you. You know how there's earth, which is dirt, and then there's water, and then there's sky. Those are three separate, distinct territories or things. Water, air, and dirt, right? Three separate. But you know how those globalists, they are trying to create this construct of a globe. It's fake, by the way. That fake globe spinning thing that we all learned in school, fake, 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 big time fake. What they're trying to do is grab all the jurisdictions. They want the land, the water, and the air, or the land, air, and water law. So they're trying to grab it all. That's what they're doing right here too. Because you know how there's like that 14th Amendment citizen, which that was created after Lincoln for the emancipated slaves to be able to become citizens, but then they try to grab everybody to make them all citizens. Now they have everybody believing, check the box, you're a US citizen, but you're not. That 14th Amendment citizen is the constructed trust made up to be able to, I don't know, what is it to be able to do? Pay taxes. Yeah, that's what it's for. It's to finance everything. Because, you know, whenever like they would have a war, that they would tax the people to pay for the war. But then they just keep going with this war, like war on drugs, war on terrorism, war on COVID. They keep making these edicts, or these, what is it called? Emergency use authorization to declare war. And there's no enemy. They're doing it on purpose so that they can keep using the money in the trust. So what these elite or the Congress or the federal government is doing is using everybody's trust money. And they're kind of making a conglomerate, like it's all a free-for-all, it's all in the pool. It's all in our trust, ours. And what this concise trustee handbook is trying to show us is that there's a distinction between what they all want to claim as ours and something that we can say, hey, that has my name on it. I'm going to make a claim. I'm going to be the trustee of that, and I'm going to take care of that, and I'm going to discharge those debts. So this right here, this little area on page 22 appears to me to be showing the distinction between the exclusivity or the separate things. Like there's that 14th Amendment citizen over here, there's Congress over here. They're trying to grab all that, doing a land grab on all the contracts and everything. And then there's also common law mixed right in there. And then there's that UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. And so they're kind of conglomerating them all together. And I think right here in this little area on this page, he's trying to show you what they're doing. So let me read this again for the third time so that we can get it in our brain. Under this jurisdiction, what jurisdiction? Go back to page 21 for a second. Right here. We begin to address the express trust in action. As shown above, the trust may engage in all manner of trade and commerce. But before taking the step of doing so, the reader, that's us, would greatly benefit the trust by understanding the nature of commerce in the 21st century. For my brief explanation of the subtle intricacies involved, I will rely upon two works by Lee Brobst et al. I will go into the detailed explanation of the Constitution. Oh, I will not go into the detailed explanation of the Constitution or the history of commerce for want of space. So it says, when the trustee is engaging in trade or commerce in behalf of the trust, acting under general common law, the trust is within the jurisdiction over which the literal and absolute protections of the Bill of Rights extend. He has no direct contact with the federal government. So this is us making the claim over our own trust. And we're within the protections of the Bill of Rights. And we're not operating under the federal government. That's what that said. Under right of contract law, so there's contract law, protected by federal constitution, the federal constitution, the trustee may enter into the 14th Amendment jurisdiction via contract. So if you got into a contract, then you may go put on another hat and go in as the 14th Amendment jurisdiction. So by willfully availing the trust of benefits, just like those quasi-corporate privileges, franchises of limited liability, those companies that are all incorporated and they go with LLCs and stuff like that. So he's saying right here, by willfully availing the trust of benefits, just like those quasi-corporate privilege franchise of limited liability for the discharge of debts using Federal Reserve notes pursuant to the economic system established under former HJR 192, contrast discharge with the payment of debts with standard gold-backed currency under the original Coinage Act. So that's what he's talking about there. Okay, let's go to page 22. Did we go there? Am I sharing the screen? 22, let's go to 22, come on. 22, come on, why aren't you wanting to go there? Okay, under this jurisdiction, the federal government, Congress has full and direct contact with the trust as they see fit for the benefit of public policy regulations, known as codes and statutes of this jurisdiction. This makes the federal government a third-party intervener in the affairs of the trust by operation of law, because the trust, as with the 14th Amendment citizen, is being allowed to get away with not truly fulfilling its commercial contracts as required under common law of contracts. So apparently right here, what's difficult when we're reading or try to comprehend what someone's saying, you got to look to see what exactly are they talking about. Hey, plus I hate it when my computer does that. All right, look right here. Because the trust, as with the 14th Amendment system, is being allowed to get away with not truly fulfilling its commercial contracts, as is required under the common law of contracts. So there's the difference between common law versus commercial contracts. So right here, there's two things. So we can just listen to the video over again, because I think I've read this 3 times on purpose so that I could try to break it down. The resulting nexus or confederacy developed under HJR Resolution 192 is an affiliation known better as an association. Oh. And the common enterprise of this unincorporated society is to offer all Americans a so-called privilege in the form of what is better known as a quasi-contract to participate in commerce without payment of debts for social security purposes. I want to read that part again, because I'm almost understanding what he's saying. So when you say as a result, you're talking about something before. So he's talking about the Congress and the federal government, and he was talking about the 14th Amendment citizens. And then he was talking about there's a difference between trust, commercial contracts, and common law of contracts. So let me see what he's saying. The resulting nexus or confederacy developed under the HJR Resolution 192 is an affiliation known better as an association. Excuse me. So let me see. And the common enterprise of this unincorporated society is to offer all Americans a so-called privilege in the form of what is better known as a quasi-contract to participate in commerce without payment of debts for social security purposes. And I'm thinking right now about the Edison bill, you know, the electricity bill, and how it has your all caps name on it. That's that 14th Amendment citizen, by the way, that all caps name. That's not you and I. And like, they got these commercial contracts going. It's not a common law contract. It's a commercial contract, but it's a corporation to a corporation, because that 14th Amendment citizen, the all caps name, is that constructed corporation. So they got those two things going right there for commercial contracts. But, you know, we want to find out about payment of debts, you know. So let me see that resulting nexus or confederacy developed under the HJR resolution. By the way, the fact that there's no money, there's no gold or silver, and we can't pay, the resulting nexus or confederacy that's developed under that is an affiliation known better as an association. And the common enterprise of this unincorporated society is to offer all Americans a so-called privilege in the form of what is better known as a quasi-contract. Are you in a quasi-contract? Look at your Edison bill. Southern California Edison. Is your name all capitalized? That's a quasi contract because that's not you. That's the 14th Amendment citizen. Do you see that? So to be able to participate in commerce without payment of debts for Social Security purposes. Oh, wait, excuse me. I have to pause this for a second. Okay. I had to answer that phone call. So moreover, this unincorporated society is outside the literal common law principle that demands the payment of debts as stated in Article 1, Section 10, but is allowed, upheld, and protected by Article 1, Section 10, that upholds the obligation of contracts. This amounts to a federated, unincorporated society by operation of law, which is contractually protected by the Constitution in the same way the express trust and its trustees are. Hey, listen to this. This amounts to a federated, unincorporated society by operation of law, which is contractually protected by the Constitution in the same way the express trust and its trustees are, and the trust and or trustee reserves the right to domicile themselves in the union under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 1, and thus to contract under Article 1, Section 10, despite the fact that they cannot pay their debts. In other words, Congress cannot compel the trust or its trustees to participate in a federal interstate unincorporated banking association under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, and HJR Resolution 192 for the non-payment of debts. The choice of law is up to each person still. So what I just finished reading was showing that you and I can make a choice. We're either going to be the 14th Amendment citizen, which is the US corporate chattel, or we can be the trustee of the trust that we're going to claim. So I'm just trying to understand it and break it down. So we can either be this one or we can be that one. I don't know if that makes sense to you. We can choose which kind of law we want to operate under. But that, little area right there that I just finished reading, it was really blurred. They are talking about difference between common law contracts and commercial contracts, but they're saying something about the fact that there's no goal because of the HJR 192, that we can actually, right here, it says this amounts to a federated unincorporated society by operation of law, which is contractually protected by the Constitution in the same way the express trust and its trustees are. And the trust and or trustee reserves the right to domicile themselves in the union under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 1, and thus to contract. Interesting. To contract under Article 1, Section 10, despite the fact that they cannot pay their debts, because of that no gold, no silver thing. In other words, Congress cannot compel the trust or its trustees to participate in a federal interstate unincorporated banking association under that Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, and HJR 192 for the non-payment of debts. Yeah, I don't really understand what I just read right here, but I'm sure that if we keep reading it, and I've read it 3 times now, that it might get in. It's kind of cool that it's saying that the federal government or Congress cannot compel us, the trust or its trustee, to participate in a federal interstate unincorporated banking association under their Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, and HJR for the non-payment of debts. Corporations, right here. Corporations are artificial creations of the state or federal government under physical charter franchise issued via state or federal civil law for commercial regulation under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 and 3. They are not under the literal common law because of the charter franchise. Did you hear that? Any legal action against the corporation is legally called an in rem action because it is against the thing or property, also called the res of the corporation under charter. The courts have automatic subject matter jurisdiction because the physical charter is the subject matter. That's a good one to go over. So the courts have automatic subject matter jurisdiction because of the physical charter, because of their physical charter is the subject matter. Oh. You know how like when you go into the court, you go, is this a common law court? They're like, no, it's under their in rem action because they got a corporate charter. So they're going under commercial federal civil law for commercial regulation. Whoa. That's what they're doing, you guys. Look, right here. The corporations are artificial creations of the state or federal government under physical charter franchise issued via state or federal civil law for commercial regulation under their articles there. So those aren't common law courts. No, they're not. Because of the charter, the franchise. So any legal action against the corporation is legally called an in rem action because it is against the thing or property, also called res, of the corporation under charter. The courts have automatic subject matter jurisdiction because the physical charter is the subject matter. Under the letter of the constitutional law, there is no commercial regulation, but HJR 192, along with 15 USC, brought in a third party for commercial regulation for the Social Security public policy. Remember, equity compels performance. Uh-oh, getting a phone call. I can't get a phone call when I'm doing my deal. Sorry, later. Oop, I gotta put it on pause for right now. Or maybe we'll just stop for now. Yeah, I gotta stop. Oh, we'll come back to this again.